So today I'm going to talk about some of the lighting and making of this little short film spec kind of thing that we made. It was a pretty funny little script that a friend of mine wrote, and we just wanted to make something because we can. So we did. So the scene is this messy guy walks into a church, not really knowing what the hell he's doing. He's missing a shoe. He takes a moment and looks at the cross and the altar. And I'm just showing some of these shots we got, but we're probably not going to use them all in the edit, which isn't actually finished yet. But I'll put it in the link when it is finished. So he goes into this confession booth and things aren't all as they seem. So it's a small scene, but everything requires some amount of pre-production and planning. So the first thing we did for this was scout some church locations.
Maybe this is like shot of that, and you get some kind of reaction from him.
Yeah.
He walks away.
This was one of the first ones that we looked at, and they were more than happy to have us for free. So we said, great, that fits our budget. And then after we did the initial scout, we then went back a couple of weeks later and shot all the angles we wanted on my FX30. So because this wasn't the kind of church that had confession booths, and we didn't want to have to pay for a church that did have them, we decided to make our own. So we had to plan what shots were going to be at the church and what were going to be on set at the studio. And by studio, I mean my living room.
Fuck.
So in the film, there's some shots of him coming in and out of the booth that we had to find the right background for in the church to tie it all together. So after we opened a few imaginary doors, we settled on this background because it had the most interest with the light on the wall and the wood ceiling in the background. Then I also just took some more photos of the space so I could come up with some lighting plans and ideas that I compiled all together in Milanote, which is today's sponsor, and it's the perfect tool for this kind of thing. So I shot a feature last year and did all my pre-production in Keynotes and Word documents. So this is like a huge upgrade and time saver and just all around much better design for filmmakers. So what I've got here on this pre-production page that has everything in it, I've got the script that I can access here. I have all my visual tone references from different films to give me ideas on composition angles, lighting, color, and it's just really easy to put these in here. So I'll show you what I would do. I'll get a new board, drag it onto this look column, title it, references. Then I'll go to a site like Frameset, for example, and these are some references I've already compiled. And then I'll just drag them across into Milanote, and Milanote accepts them like this in the full quality. So then I do that with all of them, and then I have my reference image folder. In here, I've got my lighting plan of the church and got the gear list next to it as well. We'll get into this a little bit later. Here's some storyboards the director made. They're pretty funny. I'm sure he's gonna love me showing these to the world. I think they were meant for our eyes only. They're pretty good. We have some music tone references here. And again, you can just drag these in here and anyone can listen to them. This is a YouTube reference the director's added in, ideas about the costume, how it should look, which is always helpful for me too. So going up here to another tab, that was pre-production, and then in this production one, we've got a link to the call sheet, the script, and the crew list. And you can share access to different people for individual pages. Like these mood boards might have a few more people on them, but not everyone needs to see my lighting plans, for example. So I can share this up here with another collaborator by adding in their email, and then they can add to it. Or if you want to export it out as a PDF or some other document, you can do that here. So thanks so much to Milanote for sponsoring this video. I was stoked when they wanted to collaborate because it's such a great platform for filmmakers, and I know so many people that already use this platform too. So Milanote's available for free with no time limit, and you can check it out in the link in my description. So going back to my plan with the lighting in the church, I wanted to have a bunch of bright LED lights bounced into fabric, creating a soft source on this side. If we had the budget, I'd probably put some bigger lights outside coming through the windows so we don't have all this gear on the set inside. It's usually nicer to have the light coming through the actual window and then just have an additional light inside to push a bit more into the actor's face. But this was going to work fine for what we needed. So then when the shoot day came around, I loaded up my massive truck and headed to set. So we're using my Alexa 35 and the DZO Tango zoom lenses. We also knew we wanted to get this high shot behind the cross looking down. So if you were doing this with more of a budget, you'd probably have a jib with a Ronin 2 on the end of it. But I came up with an idea to just hard mount the Komodo to the end of this combo stand. And we started with a Tokina 11 to 20mm lens, then eventually swapped to a DZO 25mm. Just to get the right focal length that we wanted. But we do want to see, I guess that's enough.
Yeah, you want to see this, and then it's like,
Yeah, there,
Yeah.
there's the frame. It'll come in a bit, a little tighter, and then...
Yeah.
I'm just like wondering about like this top right corner.
Action!
So we're using two 1200Ds, one 600D, and a big Intelitech panel on this side. And for the lighting, I didn't want it to be too dark and moody and contrasty. I just wanted a natural, soft source from one side. In a space like this, if I was trying to make it more shaped and a darker background, I would have made our bounced film lights on our character brighter or harder, and then used more ND on the lens, which would keep him at the exposure that we want, but it would make the background go darker. You could also turn off a lot of the lights that were on in the room. We had all these lights on the ceiling that were turned on, but I just wanted that more simpler looking image for this scene. And because we had a mixture of tungsten lights inside and then this daylight coming through the window, I added like a half orange gel to one of the daylight bounced lights, so it's not just all white light. Then I also set the camera's white balance to 4200, so it's somewhere in the middle. Then we went on to a few additional tracking shots of him walking down the aisle, and we didn't have all the grip gear that we needed, so we just used some Bibles and scriptures that were lying around the place to level out the slider.
Looks wobbly.
So as we're moving around and getting each of these shots, we're just sort of parting the lighting to keep it out of frame. So for this one, 2 of the frames have been pushed on this side, and then 2 have been pushed on this side. And then when we move to the back shot here, we've just pushed the lights more out of this side. After we'd shot more than enough coverage of this scene, we went on to get the shots of him that we were going to cheat the background of the confession booth for. So we covered this window with an ultra bounce and then bounced a 1200 into it for his key light. I think it was at 1% and it was still too bright, so we just wrapped some cine foil around it to take down some more level. And then because he sort of leans down into the camera, I wanted to lift up some of the level around his eyes, so I just attached this Aputure MC next to him. So that's just lifting up some of this level, and then it's also giving this little light in his eyes here. The following day, back at the studio, we had a late start, so I rebuilt the set again in the morning. So I've just clipped these two wooden panels onto these light stands. Then I've also put this floppy over the top here to block any additional daylight coming into the shot. And I also ran some tape on this joint at the back. Then for the lighting, what I did was have a 600D with a CTO gel, creating this hard beam of light that sort of hits his shoulder. And then what's lighting his face is just an Aputure MC really close to the other side of the window. And they're the two sort of warm lights that are lighting his face. And we had this moment in the shot where the booth window opens, so we attached this piece of board to a C stand and manually opened it by lifting the stand up and down. And because it's quite dark and he looks down quite a lot, I wanted to give him another eye light, but I didn't have any more lights, so what I did was put my phone on a white background and just put it on this little stand in front of him. That's what's giving this light in his eyes here and creating this cooler color reflecting on some of his skin in some of the shots here. And I liked having that color contrast, just a little bit cooler there. So then when he gets up to go around to see what's on the other side, we had that shot of him that we got in the church. Then we reveal it's this like janky setup with a speaker hooked up to a ChatGPT AI type thing that they've got going on. And so what we did to shoot this was just use those same walls again in my living room. Added this chair, speaker and the laptop, and then just had the curtain on the side of the frame as well, just to tie both of the shots together a bit more. And for the lighting, I've just used a couple of those Aputure MC lights behind again, then had the 600D with a gel on it, which is sort of lighting the front of the chair. And I've just wrapped some black wrap around the end of it too, just to cut it down a little more. And I think it works pretty good. Then we also just got a couple of additional product style shots of the speaker that we're dollying into on my slider. So that was it. It was just a fun little shoot with some friends because we wanted to. So once they finished editing it, probably next week, I'll go back in the link in the description and add it in there. Okay, bye.